Merci à nos invités d'avoir pu venir. Cette deuxième table ronde porte sur les questions qui ont été posées tout à l'heure, qui ont été soulevées tout à l'heure, mais plus précisément, comment se posent les problèmes, comment ils sont perçus, comment ils se manifestent, tant pour les libertés démocratiques que pour la question de l'égalité entre tous les citoyens d'Israël. Comment c'est perçu dans le monde artistique, dans le monde de la culture, dans l'université, les écoles. Voilà. Alors, Avi Mograbi, né à Tel Aviv, où il vit, il est réalisateur et vidéaste. Dans ses documentaires, notamment pour Un seul de mes deux yeux, Z32, Dans un jardin, je suis entre les frontières, il dénonce les dérives de la société israélienne, l'occupation, la colonisation, le racisme et le sort réservé aux migrants. Car c'est une question importante en Israël, le sort réservé aux migrants. En 1983, il a refusé de combattre au Liban. Deux citations de Avi Mograbi dans des entretiens et des interviews. Israël est un pays raciste où la question de la pureté de la race est sans cesse posée. Deuxième citation, je soutiens sans ambiguïté l'existence de l'État d'Israël, mais j'estime qu'il ne doit plus être un État juif, mais un État pour tous ses citoyens à égalité. Vous voyez bien pourquoi j'ai repris ces citations, nous sommes complètement dans l'objet de notre colloque. Sigal Naor Perelman est docteure en philosophie, chercheuse en littérature, maîtresse de conférence à l'université de Haïfa, cofondatrice de l'organisation pour la promotion des sciences humaines en Israël et éditrice notamment de la revue littéraire Militant. Elle va nous aider à mieux comprendre comment ces problèmes sont vécus, ressentis dans le monde universitaire et dans les écoles. Et enfin, Gideon Levy, journaliste et écrivain que vous connaissez très largement ici, ces articles étant régulièrement traduits en français, dans d'autres langues évidemment, mais nous, ce qui nous intéresse, c'est le français, et dont il est membre de la direction du quotidien Haaretz. Dans sa chronique hebdomadaire, il dénonce régulièrement et avec virulence l'occupation israélienne et ses conséquences sur une société israélienne qu'il considère comme malade. C'est un point très important. Après les dernières élections législatives en Israël, il écrivait, deux phrases extraites, « Le système judiciaire, les médias, les organisations de défense des droits de l'homme et des droits des Arabes en Israël vont bientôt sentir le roussi. La loi interdira bientôt la publication de tribunes libres dans les médias israéliens s'ils critiquent les soldats israéliens, par exemple, ou soutiennent le boycott d'Israël. Le nouveau gouvernement sera le gouvernement de l'annexion israélienne. » On est en plein dans notre affaire aussi. Donc on va commencer à entendre nos amis. Avi, si vous voulez bien démarrer.
Thank you, Robert, for the introduction, and thank you, Iremo, for the kind invitation. I'm very happy to be here. Well, the previous panel was so well prepared that now I'm a little bit inconfident, especially that I wrote what I have to say in Hebrew and will try to improvise it into English so be patient with me. I will try to talk about what is coming. I'm not a big a big analyst, but what is coming in the near future in the liberal community in Israel. Now that we have serious talks or serious mentions by both Israeli politicians and American officials about annexation, and lately in the press, in the Israeli press, there are lots of mentions of the word apartheid. Then I would like to raise the possible next philosophical dilemma of the the liberal community in Israel. And the dilemma is something like, would it be, how would you define a state if a state has a part of it, a region that is under apartheid rule, if there is apartheid in a certain region, in a certain part of the state, does it mean that the whole state is an apartheid state? Or does it mean that it's just another democratic state like all states with some things that maybe have to be dealt with? Which is, I think, is going to be one of the main discussions very shortly, or maybe it already exists. And to answer that question, you know, on one hand, you can say something that we are very good at. Here and there. Here we have a wonderful democracy, and there is a situation that still has to be defined or indulged with. We can say, we are here and they are there, which is a slogan that has been used a lot by the liberal forces in Israel in defense of the separation, of the two-state solution. We can say here, on this side of the wall, we have a wonderful, wonderful Israeli democracy, and on the other side is the Palestinian Authority. But on the other hand, I should do like this. I should, this was like this. And on the other hand, where did this apartheid arrive from? Didn't the moves or the actions of the Israeli government for the last 50 or so years have brought the apartheid from the democracy to the other side of the green line? Have we no responsibility? Oh, yes, sure. But this was not done in any malice, with any malice. Yes, you don't forget that we are third generation of Holocaust survivors, and you don't teach us what is oppression and what is discrimination. To say that the Jewish state is an apartheid state, it's very, very harsh. And, well, practically my grandmother, who fled from Leipzig in 1932, is now turning over in her grave when she hears those words. Turning over, you would say, rolling. Secondly, this is not us. This is the settlers. If this was dependent on us, it would have never happened. And thirdly, this is not us. It's the Palestinians. If they didn't start the suicide bomber intifada, all of this would not have happened. After all, Rabin, Peres, Barak, Olmert, they all offered everything to them. But they, the Palestinians, they never missed an opportunity to miss, like we all know from our history. How can you say such a thing? Look at the history of the 71-year history of the State of Israel inside our wonderful democracy. Look at how we confiscated a colossal amount of land from people who fled Palestine during the 48 war. Yes, the law of the property of present absentees. Look at how we prevented refugees of the 48 war to return. Look at the military regime imposed on Palestinians inside Israel until 1962. Look at the fact that in 71 years, not one new Palestinian settlement was built inside the state of Israel, whereas hundreds of Jewish settlements were created there. It's just a footnote. A settlement can be Palestinian or Jewish, you understand that. It's a question of belonging, national belonging, or maybe even religious, or God knows. Look at the education and health services in the Palestinian towns. Look at the benefits that Jewish Israelis receive under the supposed fact that they serve in the military. Look at all those discrimination levels, and you realize that the nation-state law is not a law that defines the future. It's a descriptive law of the present. What I mean, I'm sure that Sauzan can define it more legally, but as I understand it, this is a law that tells us what practically is the reality, only now it has become desirable. No more excuses. You are being very petty. The Arab Israelis should be thankful for living with us and in our place, in our territory. What would they prefer? Living with Bashar al-Assad, Saddam Hussein? We are such great hosts that this is something that should be appreciated, and I hate the way you look into the details like this. You are not answering to the point. The nation-state law is exactly this. They have erased the Arab language from being an official language of the state. They didn't succeed in including the word equality within the law. They have, well, I repeat myself because wrong translation, bad translation. They have turned what exists in the reality into something desirable. Okay, this conversation, I've had enough. I feel that people like you, breaking the silence, B'Tselem, Adala, are taking advantage of the wonderful freedom of expression that we have to make a balagan, to make a mess. You are trolls in our democracy. And maybe it's really about time that, like some people say, to change the rules a little bit. And just so that you know that if we will have to limit the freedom of expression, it will be because people like you abused it. Thank you.
Merci Avi pour cette intervention qui est pleine d'ironie, que nous avons tous appréciée sur ce qu'est Israël et comment réagit le pouvoir israélien. Eh bien maintenant la parole à Sigal, oui, qui va nous parler donc de la situation telle qu'elle en a eu l'expérience dans le milieu universitaire et scolaire, plus généralement.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Here and now? So thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I'm very happy to be here in this important symposium. In the past year, it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the past year, every 3 weeks or so, I'm getting my nails done at this girl's place, a girl that I'm very fond of. Her name is Dana. She's 19, and she lives with her parents in Haïfa, where I also live. Just as I was getting used to our routine appointments and to the conversations we were having, she told me that her family has decided to leave Haïfa, that the city has become too pricey for them, and that they are moving to a small town close by. But since they've already sold the apartment and the new place will only be ready in 3 times a month, they will move in for the time being with Dana's grandmother on Springsack neighborhood. It's a Springsack neighborhood is a rather neglected and not so good neighborhood built way back in the 1960s. It is located in the lower city of Haïfa, and it's a symbol of long growth. Thank you. And it's assembled of long rows of house projects. And I could also know that Haifa's urban geography is very class-oriented. The higher you live up its mountain, the richer you are, and vice versa. 2 weeks ago, I arrived at Dana's place, and she invited me to her temporary room at her grandmother's. I sat in front of her, and while she handled my nails, I had plenty of time to look around. The small room was packed. A large couch sat there, a wide model that you can open and stretch even farther, a large closet, a library sat on top of the desk. The window had a colorful curtain, and the floor was covered with rather thick brown rug. I kept looking around, with a growing sensitivity to details. The library was overcrowded with books, small dolls, and pictures. Framed goblins, the kind bourgeois household in Israel used to have in the 60s and in the 70s, were hanging on the wall. On the door frame, 2 old stickers, "Leave the occupied territories" and "Goodbye, friend." The words "Shalom Chaver," goodbye friend, are taken from President Clinton's eulogy for Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated in November 1995, in Israel, of course. On the left-hand side of the door frame, handwritten in curly blue letters, appeared the name of the girl who once lived in the room, Catherine. Dana, who noticed me looking around, apologized for the mess and said that a grandmother is a compulsive hoarder. And in that crowded room, you really could feel overwhelmed, suffocated. But suddenly, with no prior notice, I began to feel the very opposite, that I'm breathing. The variety of objects in the room, the eclectic blend, those past 6 decades of random, but all the same very present archaeology of items assembled there, the lack of interactability, all turned the room so lively, active, so full of desire, of humor, of irony. It was a moment of revelation for me, and I'm not exaggerating, a moment in which the phrase freedom of speech came back to life in full, no longer sort of hypothetical, even empty term. At the same time, I was overwhelmed with this one notion. If I would ask around and have people tell me whether they feel that freedom of speech exists in Israel, most would say yes. I would not have a reason not to believe them. They must feel that way, free to say whatever they wish to. But what is this whatever, this what? They may feel that they have all the freedom to express anything they wish to express. But what would they express? What is this expressing really like? To answer these questions, I would have you, if you please, in the classroom, my classroom. For better and worse, I've spent most of my adult and professional life in this room, first as a student, and later as a high school teacher and a university professor. In time, I have learned to see the classroom as a laboratory, and the students as a subject on kind of cultural and social litmus paper. In my first year as literature teacher in 1995, I read short stories by Israeli author Edgar Keret, who was 28 years old at that time, to my students. For example, the story, Slimy Shlomo is a homo. Shlomo homo kuselemo in Hebrew. We watched together scenes from Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction and realized, both in heart and in mind, what was postmodernism all about, and how the quote and the quote of the quote of the quote keep us farther and farther away from an original one. I showed them sketches from the wonderful Israeli satire show, Hachamishiya Kamberit, the Chamber Quintet, which was aired at the time on TV. It had vulgar sketches aiming at Israeli culture, the IDF, and the Israeli administration. In one sketch, for example, actress Keren Moore is a female soldier who, while trying to hitchhike on the highway, delivers a long monologue on the things she hates about the military. She hates when military police order her to keep her hair up in a ponytail. If my hair is down, she says, and I'm flying an F-16, what's the worst that could happen? I'd get my hair stuck in the propeller. And if I'm inside of a tank and have a button in my shirt open, what then? My nipple would get caught in the turret and jam the cannon? My students were thrilled. They were laughing hard and out loud. I was enjoying it as much because I achieved something else in doing that. Slowly, gradually, as the year progressed, they developed meta-thinking. They became more and more aware of language, its jargon, its various uses, the manipulation that are being operated upon it, and the manipulations they may operate themselves. They enhanced their sense of irony, and had it pointed toward cultural and social wrongs they have indicated. They reflected with those exact tools, irony, humor, language, on their own families, their circles of friends, the Board of Education, the schools, official ceremonies held there. When I say official ceremonies, I particularly mean the Memorial Day ceremony held annually in high schools in Israel in remembrance of IDF soldiers who died in battle. I can still remember how they used to enjoy all the pathos and the drama that is attached to the ceremony just because it suited adolescents so well. But I also remember how they were annoyed by this doomed fate no one may escape from notion that ran like a thread through the entire ceremony. I will never forget one student who once told me, "It's better not to make students cry during the Memorial Day ceremony. This way, maybe they won't feel like dying and imagine others cry over them." It seems to me that in the transition of students from literature class to the other spheres of everyday life, they held a playful element, enjoyed the diffusion, and allowed observation. Look, I'm in no way trying to sound nostalgic, but I do think that the essence of expression was more diverse, more distinguishable, less organized one. I won't go into this now, but just think of the disciplining and collective totalitarian element of today's social media. And when expression itself not as lively, not as shaken up, maybe then it's truly the time to speak of freedom. I'm jumping ahead to a classroom in 2008. Same room, different class. Different students, different times. It was the last time I allowed myself as a self-proclaimed wasted actress, to play a short comedy sketch by a Hamishia Kamerit in front of students. Every teacher you know keeps a rabbit he or she may pull out of their hats in time of crisis so they can win their students' hearts and make the classroom their own again. Mine was a bit plucked, but a very lovable rabbit even so. I stood in front of the classroom with a serious gaze, pulled a poetry book out of my bag, and with a dramatic tone of voice, kept for professional poetry events only, read, supposedly so, from the book while maintaining eye contact with the students. Just like in the original sketch, TV sketch of Hamishia Kamerit, I read a so-called poem, a poem that was made entirely of repetition of various musical tones of one linguistic expression, which was simply an Israeli popular curse. In Hebrew, it's kus emek. I won't do it here now. This short presentation in class...
In Arabic, it's kus
yes, not in Hebrew, of course in Arabic, but in Israeli and curse, of course in Arabic. Yes. This short presentation in class was followed, as always, by a serious academic explanation. I'll deliver it here as well for all of those of you in the audience who are wondering what is the matter with this Israeli teacher who is standing here in front of you talking about cursing. Well, it's a parody on poets being grave and severe on the way they grasp themselves not a bit lightly. It's a literary parody on the question of the function of poetry, if you will. Should poetry be sublime and distant, or vulgar and so hold direct influence on reality? The parody itself forms from the actual irony and from the gap that lies between the distinguished position of poet, the musicality of the so-called poem, and its actual words, which are literally simply one long curse in rough slang. Remember, I've mentioned earlier the fact that while reading this poem, I maintained eye contact with the students. Well, that night, I got a phone call from their advisory teacher who reproached me harshly. One of the students' mother called her up and told her I cursed her daughter. It didn't help what I said, or that I explained that it was a take on an artistic theme. It didn't help that I made a point by saying that art observes life and retells something about it. It didn't help that I mentioned Plato, who not only thought that art is separate from life, but also claimed that it is a lie, as it is far from the truth. I even had Aristotle over, as one who stood for art, but also claimed that drama is not reality, but rather mimesis, meaning an imitation of life. You cursed, the advisory teacher said. I thought at first that this coming from her was also a parody, a comic sketch. But at the back of my mind, I realized that nothing may be taken for granted any longer. I stood in front of the classroom and apologized to the students. I made a promise that from now on, I will only talk of concentration camps and the Holocaust. The new students who got it and giggled made me able, for just a moment, to breathe properly. At the end of that year, on December 2008, unintendedly or not, Operation Cast Lead, the IDF's largest military operation in the Gaza Strip, was declared. In class, I clearly expressed that I was against it, that it was a crime. One of the students raised his hand and said this exact word. We need to drop a bomb on Gaza and have everyone there dead. I asked him if he's willing to translate what he just said into German. He panicked and kept quiet. I was pleased. How good it is to have irony on your side and help you see things from a new perspective. But from that day on, I swear, teachers stopped speaking to me in the teacher's room. Not even a simple hello. They stared whispering to each other. When students started whispering in class 2, I understood that something strange was happening. One of the students liked me enough to see me after class and said rather bravely, "The advisory teacher asked us to report on anything you say in class." I asked myself, in irony, if being an informer is being educated. And if this was education, then where exactly in the world? Eventually, after enough information was gathered, I was summoned for a meeting at the principal's office. He made me very happy by saying that he had to speak to me after receiving many complaints from teachers and students alike. But he's asking me to keep making my voice heard. Adam Verte, an Israeli teacher for philosophy and Jewish thought, who was fired in 2014 after a student claimed that he was expressing his political opinions in class, didn't have that sort of Hollywood-like ending to his story. Worse than that, his school kept claiming that he was fired not because of his opinions, political opinions, but due to cutbacks. Hiding behind an excuses intimated the teacher and will keep on doing so. No question about it. By the way, it's not a mere coincidence that in horror flicks you can't see the face of the monster. No, not until the end. One last leap. It's 2018. Graduate students class at university. I read a poem by Israeli poet Sigal Naor, a poem titled "A Poem for a Woman." The poem is a summary of the life of a woman who always did what was expected of her: marriage, mortgage, childbearing. In the poem, they tell her not to get up in the middle of the night for the baby who is crying. They tell her to pay for an English tutor because that's important. They tell her to sign a consent form for a son to become a fighter in the army. In short, she does everything that she is being told. But after her son is killed in the army, the woman is fed up. The poet is not ironic in his view of her, perhaps only slightly. The poet is mainly heartbroken. While I was reading this poem, two female students stood up, slammed their notebook on their desk, and went for the door. Before they did, one of them shouted at me, "I paid 30,000 shekels for a master's degree, and this is what I have to listen to? This is what you're educating for?" I tried to explain that the university is also a research institute, not only an educational one. Maybe we do not need to research whatever happened in these past 3 decades that made students in high school, as well in the academia, not listen to any other voice other than the one that is automatically being played in their heads. Sometimes I may stand in the class and feel like I'm not in front of students, but rather in front of a group of moralistic, self-righteous, pedagogical consultants who are there to keep an eye on me, making sure I'm saying a right or the right thing. Look, to external censorship, you may resist, but internal censorship is a whole different thing. Not only that it will not allow certain kind of speech, but it also blocks certain kinds of thoughts. Would you like to pass from this thought to another? Give us your passport, please. This is the exact danger Foucault discussed. But even still, there's a possibility of hope. For the past 8 years, my partner, Lior, and I have been operating 6 schools in different universities in Israel under our Derech Ruach organization to promote humanities, from Tel Hai in the north to Be'er Sheva in the south. We have high school students who are coming once a week for one afternoon to study humanities in the university. Anyone may come and participate. Our schools are open for everyone. The students sit in class to a round table, read works of literature, of philosophy, exchange ideas, debate, laugh, say nonsense, make mistakes, try again, gradually grow this organ called irony. Sometimes get sad by the way things are. And only now I understand, gladfully I understand, that they remind me that messy, lively, full of desire room in Dana's grandmother's house back in Haïfa.
Merci, Sigal.
Thank you very much. It's now many years that I have not been talking to French audiences, and I thought you lost interest. And I'm so happy to be here today and to see that I was so wrong. And I'm really so grateful for being here today. I could never get such a big audience in Tel Aviv, obviously. I want to get back to the nation-state law and to start and to say, and to continue what Avi mentioned, the nation-state law is a law of truth. And we should appreciate it as a law of truth. I think the nation-state law had exposed 4 basic Israeli lies, and we should follow them and draw the conclusions. And it's very important to understand that such kind of laws, which show the real picture, put an end to a masquerade of decades, a masquerade in which all of us were very happy. We Israeli liberals, we are part of the Western world, we are liberals, the only democracy in the Middle East, the only democracy in the world, the chosen people. You in Europe, you had your darling, Israel, the villa in the jungle, as Ehud Barak had once described it. It was really lovely to live all those years, to know that the Israeli people say shalom as the first greeting, which is the ultimate prove how much we desire for peace. This is what I was told as a child. Never was told that salam is the same word. I was never told. But shalom, what do you ask for more than this? A Jewish Israeli wakes up in the morning and says shalom. I mean, can you ask for more? So back to the law. This law puts really an end to the masquerade, and this government puts an end to the masquerade, and therefore, with all the damages, and I'll get to the damages, and the dangers, and the risks, there is also one positive side in it. Finally, we face reality. The first lie that this law breaks is the lie of the only democracy in the Middle East. A democracy does not legislate such laws. A democracy does not ignore its national minorities. In democracies, there is no one privileged ethnic group over the other. Doesn't exist. And if a law says clearly, and this law says clearly, there are 2 peoples in this piece of land. One people gain all the rights and the privileges, and the other gets nothing. This is what the law means. This means that we are not dealing with a democracy. And it's very important to put an end once and for all to this lie that Israel reflects the values of the West. Israel is like South Africa at the time, an outpost of the West against those barbarians, against those Muslims, against Daesh, against terror, against all those dark forces. Here we have this lighthouse of democracy in the Middle East. some of you may know by now that there is nothing like being half pregnant. Either you are pregnant or you are not pregnant. Nothing but this. Same should be said about democracy, and same should be said about the Israeli democracy. Yes, for us, Jews, Israeli citizens who are Jewish, we still gain a democracy even though all the dangers that were described here by Sigal, by Avi, they all exist. I don't want to underestimate them, but we, Jewish citizens of Israel, still gain what can be mentioned as a liberal democracy. But there are two more regimes in Israel, and you can't ignore them. One is the discriminatory regime for the Israeli Palestinians. And Sausan, you mentioned Israeli Arabs. You are even not allowed to define yourself as Israeli Palestinians. You are Israeli Arabs. I remember a few months ago, before the elections, I interviewed Avi Mograbi, the leader of the Israeli Labor Party, one of the leaders of the good ones, those who promise peace and security and everything. And I asked him something about the Israeli Palestinians. It was on stage in the Haaretz conference. And genuinely he asked me, what do you mean Israeli Palestinians? Who are the Israeli Palestinians? He had no idea what I mean. This is the leader of the Israeli Labor Party. Yeah, Southern brother can be living in Jenin, and he belongs to another people than the people that live on this side. But in any case, this is the second Israeli regime, and this is the regime for the Israeli Palestinians. They gain all the formal rights. They are totally excluded in the political game, and we saw it recently more than ever. They are discriminated in any field of life. I will not get into it. There is not one single field of life that they are not discriminated, but they can be considered part of the democratic game. And then comes, obviously, the third regime of Israel, the military occupation, which is today one of the most brutal tyrannies on earth. And I say it and I mean it. One of the most brutal, cruel tyrannies on earth, not less than this. Life under this occupation, which changes phases, and there are better times and worse times, and better areas and worse areas, but by the end of the day, we are dealing with a tyranny. And we cannot accept that a state will be considered as a democracy when in its backyard, even not in its colonies, it's not Congo, it's Nablus, half an hour away from my home. There is this tyranny, and I will be considered as a citizen of a democracy. So this leads me to the second lie that this law is exposing, and this is the lie which we all believed in, that the occupation is temporary. You know, let us just wait, it is temporary. First they say it's until we'll get peace, then until we'll find a partner. Arafat was not a partner because he was too strong. Abbas is not a partner because he's too weak. Hamas for sure is not a partner because they are fundamentalists and you don't want us to deal with them. But everything is temporary. This was a lie from day one. It took time for innocent Zionists or ex-Zionists like me or criminal Zionists like me to realize that it was a lie from day one. I want to claim here that there was never an Israeli government who meant to put an end to the occupation. Never, ever, with all the peace Nobel Prizes, with all the peace conferences, with all the almost achieved agreements, there was never an Israeli prime minister and never an Israeli government who really meant to put an end to the occupation, including not in Oslo. And if so, now we face this law which declares it clearly, because one thing must be understood. The nation-state law must be perceived in its context. It's not just one law and all the rest may be contradicting or it is a part of a grand plan, a part of a great plan. And the plan is to create a one state which will be an apartheid state. I'll get to it in a moment. And we need to put the infrastructure, the legal infrastructure for an apartheid state. And this law is the first, most important basis to this, legal basis to this state, which we are creating on those days. So once we realize, and once Europe will realize that the occupation is not temporary, this must lead you to all kinds of consequences. Yuda Shaul and Chagai Elad asked you before, what are you waiting for? What do you think will happen? What can happen when the intentions are so crystal clear? And this brings me to the third lie that this law is exposing. And this is the lie, again, that the Israeli liberals love to mention, and that's the lie of the Jewish democratic state. Israelis like to eat the cake and to leave it complete. We had once an advertisement for brass saying you go with and you fill without. So much the Israeli love this feeling of doing something and never pay the price. We are Jewish, and we are a Jewish democratic state. My friends, this cannot go hand with hand together. Either you are Jewish or you are democratic. France is not a French state. France is a democracy. France is not a French democratic state. France is just a democratic state. The day that France will declare itself French, it will stop being a democracy. As simple as this. I know only 2 states in the world who declare themselves, who define themselves according to ethnic or religious lines. This is the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Israel is the third. It defines itself as Jewish democratic. I keep on telling my friends, the liberal friends, you will have to choose. The nation-state law made the choice very clearly. We chose the Jewish over the democratic. I'm happy to hear about it, because at least we know the truth. And the truth is that most of the Israelis, if they have to choose, they will choose the Jewish state over the democratic state. This choice must be done, because you can't continue claiming that you are doing both. Impossible. And the last lie is obviously and unfortunately the lie of the two-state solution. For many, many years, I believed, like many others, in the two-state solution. It's the obvious solution. 2 peoples share 1 piece of land. Let's divide. They don't get along together. Let's divide the land. Each people will have its own land. The Palestinians deserve self-determination. The Jews deserve self-determination. Let's create 2 states, and the Messiah is here. This is the best solution, no doubt about it. The only problem is that this train left the station long time ago, and it's about time to realize it, because if we continue to cheat ourselves, if we continue to lie ourselves that this solution is still achievable, we play to the hands of the right-wingers, we play to the hands of the occupation. Because that's exactly what happened. Israel said 2-state solution. All governments in Israel say 2-state solution for 20, 30 years, never did anything possible to promote it, and the occupation was never still. It grew and grew. Meaning that the 2-state solution is dead, has dramatic consequences. I don't underestimate them. It means many things for the Palestinians. It means many things for the Jews. It means many things for the world. What about the PA? What about the Jewish state? What about their rights for self-determination? This is all major questions. And I'm not here to say, forget about everything, it will be very easy. No, it will not be easy. But we have to realize that continue to talk about the two-state solution is just losing and wasting more and more time, because there will never be a real two-state solution. There might be another Oslo, you know, some kind of autonomy with the Jordan River as the border, demilitarized. Why demilitarized? I always asked, and Israelis thought I'm out of my mind. Why should Palestine be demilitarized? Don't they have the right to protect themselves? Don't they face a major, major danger and risk to their lives? Don't they deserve an army like any other country in the world? But this is just one detail, obviously. A real just two-state solution with 700,000 settlers, including East Jerusalem, is something that we can dream about, but we have to realize there will be never an Israeli statesman who will be able and who will want to evacuate 700,000 settlers. I say it with a lot of pain. I wish it wouldn't be the case. But to continue to believe that there might be a viable Palestinian state with 700,000 settlers, even if you evacuate only part of them. And there are all those experts who explain that you can evacuate only 100,000 settlers, 600,000 settlers will remain and will make tunnels and bridges, and, you know, Palestinians will go with airplanes from one village to the other so they will not pass through the settlement. This is all wonderful things. It will never be even half justice, and it will never solve anything. Coming to this conclusion, I say again, is very painful. But we have to be courageous enough to realize it, because we have to think, what can we do elsewhere? And here I would like to suggest to you and to all of us to read the message of the state law, to realize that Israel gave up the masquerade, gave up even apologizing for anything. Israel declared itself as an apartheid state, officially. And we have to draw the conclusions. And what was so true and so moral about South Africa should be now so true and so moral about the second apartheid state. Why was fighting for the blacks in South Africa a moral, adorable position by all people of morality and even by governments, except of Israel, obviously? And why fighting for the Palestinians became criminal? And this is my last point here. What we are witnessing recently in the West, country after country, from Germany to the United States, is the process of criminalization of a justice struggle. Criminalization. This is unheard of. The Israeli propaganda, as efficient as it is, together with the Christian lobby and the Jewish lobby, very, very efficient, created a new situation. First, they created a situation that any criticism about Israel is anti-Semitism. This was so efficient. It paralyzed Germany, it paralyzed the West, it paralyzed the media in many countries in Europe. It is paralyzing the United States in a way. Don't you dare to criticize Israel, because if you criticize Israel, we label you as an anti-Semite. And who wants to be an anti-Semite? And then came the second step, and this was the process of criminalization. It's now about BDS, but it's not only about BDS. Don't be wrong. Very soon it will be criminal in many countries to raise any voice against the occupation, to raise any voice for the Palestinians. I think, and that's really, your own business much more than ours, you cannot keep silent about this really dangerous tendency, which is also dangerous to democracies in the West. What is it? What is it that BDS is illegal? I have the right to boycott sweatshops and not buy Nike, and many people will think that I'm a moral person. I have the right to boycott butcheries because I believe in animal rights and nobody will criminalize me. Europe is boycotting or putting sanctions on Russia few weeks after the invasion to Crimea, and that's legitimate, and this is accepted by everyone. And the only case in which putting sanctions, boycotting, calling for boycotting becomes criminal. You might be against BDS, that's fine with me. You might be in favor of BDS. But to criminalize a non-violent political movement, on which basis? So, just to conclude, I think out of deep desperation from the situation in Israel, change from within Israel will not happen in the coming future. Don't expect it to happen. Life in Israel is by far too good. Denial is by far too deep. Israelis know nothing about the occupation, don't want to know nothing about the occupation. The brainwash machinery, including the Israeli media, which does it voluntarily because of commercial reasons, the brainwash system is so effective that most of the Israelis really know nothing and don't want to know nothing. And as long as life in Israel is so good, wherefrom will come a change? Why would some Israeli young guy in Tel Aviv, in those packed up cafes and clubs and restaurants and beaches, why would he care about occupation, settlements, international law, Palestinians? Who has time for this headache? Who wants to deal with it? Why should I deal with it? And as long as this is the formula in which Israel and Israelis pay nothing for the occupation, there will be no change from within Israel. And here it gets really to you, my dear friends. Remember South Africa, deal Israel exactly like South Africa. Thank you very much.
Merci Gideon pour ce tableau bien sombre mais bien réel aussi. Bon, on prend la parole maintenant. Aude, c'est toi qui as le micro, excuse-moi. Oui. Donc ici, à Francis. Francis, là en premier. Le voilà qui arrive. Et ensuite, Madame. Et ici, je ne vous ai pas vu, désolé.
Combien nous avons été heureux d'entendre nos amis israéliens défendre des positions que nous défendons pour certains d'entre nous depuis fort longtemps. La définition d'une démocratie, c'est d'avoir des textes fondamentaux qui remontent souvent à la création de l'État et qui permettent aux citoyens de s'adresser à ce Conseil constitutionnel comme nous avons en France. Dans le cas d'Israël, il y a une situation tout à fait intéressante qui a été d'ailleurs rappelée tout à l'heure, à savoir que pour le moment, la loi abjecte, comme on l'appelle, n'est pas encore entrée officiellement car elle doit encore passer devant la Cour suprême dont on peut redouter qu'elle se laisse fléchir, mais ce n'est pas certain encore. Donc pour le moment, le texte fondamental d'Israël remonte à sa création. Il est dans la déclaration d'indépendance de 1948. Et comme vous le savez tous, dans cette déclaration, tous les Juifs du monde entier peuvent venir en Israël où ils sont accueillis à bras ouverts. Eh bien, c'est pas vrai. Bon, je ne parle même pas de mon cas personnel, qui, bien entendu, serait arrêté à la frontière, mais je pense à un cas très particulier, les falachas. Comme vous le savez, il y a encore dans la Corne de l'Afrique 7000 falachas auxquels il est dénié le droit d'entrer en Israël, alors même que la moitié de la population des falachas est déjà en Israël, avec même des familles qui sont coupées en deux. Or, actuellement, les falachas, qui sont des juifs tout à fait authentiques, se voient dénier le droit d'entrer en Israël et sont donc repoussés. Et par conséquent, cette fameuse déclaration de 1948 est violée de la façon la plus nette et la plus cynique dans le cas des falachas. Alors je demande à mes amis israéliens quelle est la position des organisations qui luttent pour la justice et la vérité par rapport au problème des falachas.
On va prendre plusieurs questions. Qui est... voilà, la dame. Puis après, de ce côté.
Merci. J'aimerais poser la question à nos trois intervenants. C'est assez fort? Vous m'entendez? Non? Il faut que je me lève.
Plus fort.
Oh, j'ai horreur de me lever. Bon. Je ne suis pas juive, je ne suis pas israélienne, je fais partie de la Ligue des droits de l'homme. J'étais en Israël au moment de la fête dite de l'indépendance. Il s'avère que j'ai pu observer, la veille de ce 8 mai, une double cérémonie. La cérémonie officielle et la cérémonie alternative non officielle. Je pense que la plupart d'entre vous ont entendu parler de cette soirée alternative. Non? Eh bien, je vais vous en parler. Il y avait donc cette soirée officielle qui passait juste à la suite de ces 700 roquettes qui avaient été envoyées donc par le djihad islamique, et le Hamas était coopérant à cette mobilisation armée. Et c'est vrai que la cérémonie officielle a été très militariste, très vindicative, très... nous sommes créés sur la base de l'armée, nous continuerons grâce à l'armée. Il s'adressait aux familles endeuillées. De l'autre côté, dans la soirée alternative, des gens de l'Organisation pour la paix ont invité 80 Palestiniens à venir organiser une soirée alternative. Netanyahou ne voulait pas qu'ils viennent. La Cour suprême a dénoncé cette non-volonté de Netanyahou d'autoriser cette arrivée des Palestiniens. La fête, parce que c'était une fête, a eu lieu. Les services de sécurité ont été organisés par les Palestiniens. Les orthodoxes ont jeté des pierres à ces Palestiniens. La fête, les Palestiniens qui ont été invités ont été dénoncés comme des traîtres. La fête a rassemblé plus de 1000 personnes. Elle a été vue par énormément de monde. Sur les actualités, le soir même, il y a eu les deux. L'annonce de cette soirée officielle, très longue, effectivement, très longue retransmission en live, et en même temps, en live, cette soirée alternative. Qu'en pensez-vous? Qu'en pensez-vous? Qu'en pensez-vous, à vous trois?
Non, c'est pas ici. C'est pas ici maintenant. Ah. Au deuxième rang, c'est bien de faire passer.
Bonjour. On sait tous que c'est la destruction des Juifs d'Europe qui a permis la création de l'État d'Israël. Les Juifs ont subi ce qu'ils ont subi pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale, et il fallait un havre de paix en quelque sorte, un refuge pour qu'ils soient accueillis et pour qu'ils puissent vivre en toute tranquillité. Et c'est un argument qui est repris à chaque fois par les dirigeants israéliens. Et j'ai une question à poser. C'est comment font ceux qui ont souffert de cette destruction, les Juifs d'Europe qui ont été détruits, que penseraient-ils maintenant de l'alliance de leur gouvernement avec les régimes d'Europe orientale, avec des antisémites avérés? Que pensent-ils de cette alliance de fait entre Trump et les régimes dont on connaît les sympathies extrémistes et antisémites de l'Europe de l'Est? Voilà.
Une question qui n'a rien à voir avec ce qui a été dit jusqu'ici, mais après être allé très souvent en Israël et en Palestine occupée, je me pose la question, et je la pose aux orateurs, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas une limite environnementale à cette politique totalement folle et délirante d'impérialisme israélien? Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un jour où ça va casser, où la terre, l'eau, l'air qu'on respire vont finir par manquer dans ce cadre-là?
Alors, monsieur, et après... Il y a beaucoup de monde qui va intervenir, alors on va essayer d'écouter au maximum, sans vous bousculer.
Lucien Champenois, de l'association Pour Jérusalem. Monsieur Levy nous a donné des arguments extrêmement forts qui rendent la création de deux États à vue humaine quasiment insurmontable. Mais il nous a donné également des arguments qui font que la solution à un État est tout aussi impossible. Et d'ailleurs, la loi de juillet 2018 l'a confirmé, mais comme cela a été déjà dit, la racine du problème se trouvait déjà dans la déclaration d'indépendance de 1948. Donc, devant ces deux impossibilités, que suggérez-vous comme ligne de conduite? Et ne pensez-vous pas tout de même que des décisions fondamentales qui régiraient les relations entre les communautés israéliennes et palestiniennes sont des décisions qui doivent être prises à des niveaux gouvernementaux et par négociation entre des autorités ayant qualité de gouvernement?
Merci. Je voudrais poser une question à M. Levy, mais avant de la poser, je voudrais rajouter juste un mensonge à la liste de mensonges qu'il a dit, parce qu'il a mentionné 4. Un 5e mensonge, c'est que l'État d'Israël prétend vouloir défendre les Juifs dans le monde et dit que venez en Israël pour être protégés, alors qu'ils sont peut-être, s'il y a un endroit au monde où ils sont moins protégés, c'est en Israël. Donc je voulais juste rajouter à mon avis. Deuxième, la question, j'en viens à la question. Monsieur Levy, si vous étiez palestinien, que feriez-vous aujourd'hui? Dans l'état actuel des choses, si vous vous mettez à la place d'un Palestinien, que feriez-vous? Merci.
C'est une question pour les 3 intervenants. En tant qu'une jeune chercheuse qui analyse la soi-disant démocratie en Israël, je voudrais savoir si on peut signaler un processus de dédémocratisation en Israël. Et si oui, est-ce qu'il y a un point de départ de ce processus? Est-ce que c'est la deuxième intifada ou est-ce que... Voilà, c'est ça que je me demande.
Je propose que les intervenants répondent, parce que ça commence à faire pas mal de questions, et on reprendra une autre série ensuite. Alors, Avi, Sigal, Gideon, allez-y. Qui est-ce qui veut intervenir?
I can say that I think that my friends could answer better than me the old questions, but I can say that that I think that the government of Israel are really trying to threat individuals and organizations. And the aim of this government is to bring fear and into this context and to affect the debate and the dialogue here that is going on in Israel, and internal censorship working very hard in all of us. I'm afraid to speak in front of students. I'm afraid to speak in front of even to my friends, even to say certain things to my friends. And I'm thinking twice if I want to say something, or even to read a poem, even to read some poem of maybe of Sigal Naor, he's a radical poet in Israel, or maybe others, because everything is very. I feel very intimidated by my friends and by the authority of the university even. A lot of universities in Israel not allowed to breaking the silence to come to the university and lecture to the students, to lecture in front and to say something about the occupation. So we are I feel in Israel, and I know that I'm Jew. I don't want to think about the Arab people in Israel. I really think that they are more afraid than me, and they have all the right to be more afraid than me to say certain things or to behave in certain ways. I hope that you, the French people, maybe will do something, because I think that the pressure, a real pressure from Europe may do something good to Israel, but it has to come from abroad, not from Israel, from abroad. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to answer any of the questions.
You have to.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that I have many good answers. But secondly, I realized while the questions were asked that I'm getting sadder and sadder and more depressed. And somehow, yes, it's all true. I mean, Israel, that was created with the help of the Nazi race laws, has created. We have created our own race laws, or regulations, if you wish, and this is concerning the falasha. Yes, Israel is collaborating with the ugliest regimes around, and we handpick them. We don't just take anybody. So answering all those questions, I mean, you know the answers, basically. This is, it's not about what we think about it. It's, we are in a very sad moment. And it's also sad to find yourself being a nag, you know. Yeah, it's all shit, you know. It's, in French, merde. So, merde. So, but I want to answer the question that Gideon was asked. You allow?
Sure.
It would be strange if we, the perpetrators, the occupiers, those who destroy the Palestinian land, would give advice to young or older Palestinians of how to resist us. How can we answer this?
Many years ago, when I was still a good boy Tel Aviv, and I had still a TV show. I had Ehud Barak in my show, and I asked him, Mr. Barak, what would have happened if you would have been born Palestinian? And he gave me then the only genuine answer that he could give. He said I would have joined one of the terror organizations. And I really, it was pre-recorded, and I really thought he gave the only answer he can give, because what else can he answer? That he would have become a collaborator with the Zionists, that he would become a pianist under occupation, because he always claims that he plays the piano so well. I really thought it's a wonderful answer. They don't have an army. That's their way to resist. And then when the recording was over, I see his aides coming down totally pale. What did you do? What did you do? And until today, he thinks that he almost lost the elections because of this answer, because this was used by the Likud, obviously. And I would love to give the same answer. The only problem is that I'm a very bad soldier and very bad fighter and quite a coward. So I wouldn't suggest you to count on my military capabilities, but I want to believe that I would have resisted one way or the other, but I would have resisted, no doubt. Who doesn't? I want to try to answer some more questions because I feel we are obliged. My colleagues made themselves good life, and they just choose whatever they like. And I'm stuck now with all the hard questions. Exactly. And above all, I have to read my handwriting, which is much a bigger job, but I will try. I'll go from one. About the falasha, I want to tell you, yes, I'm very much in favor of bringing them. But to my heart, I think more about people who were born in Palestine and cannot get there. I think they should have a priority. And there are so many people. I will never forget my conversation with the Israeli-Palestinian painter Abed Abadi from Haïfa. It was the days of the war in Syria. His sister was in Yarmouk refugee camp. I don't have to tell you here what happened in Yarmouk refugee camp in the war. He wanted to save the life of his sister who was born in Haïfa. She was there much before I was there, much before my parents knew where is Haïfa. And he couldn't bring her because it contradicts the Israeli law. And I think that the sister of Abed Abadi from Yarmouk has the right to come to her homeland. And we have to find a solution. I don't say now open all the gates and let all the millions come. We have to get to it through an equal, yes, this word equality, through an equal immigration policy. And this will be one of the main challenges of this new one state that inshallah will create one day. Now about leaving everything to governments, that's a good advice, but the governments had their chance for the last 52 years, and we saw where they took us to. First of all, by definition, I wouldn't expect such a question in 2019 when it's very clear in the West that civil society have a major role in democracy. Leaving everything to governments, this is really contradicting democracy. No, we cannot leave it to governments, and for sure not to Israeli governments. With all the respect, and again, and some of my colleagues, some of my friends mentioned it, the occupation is not a domestic issue of Israel. And it cannot remain a domestic issue of Israel. The occupation lies to the doors of the free world. And it's about the free world to do something exactly like South Africa. Sorry for repeating myself, to get back to South Africa. Exactly like South Africa was not a domestic issue. Did anyone claim that South Africa apartheid was a domestic issue? If it would have been a domestic issue, it would have stayed until today. But the world realized that it cannot be a domestic issue. And same for the occupation. So therefore, to leave it to governments and to diplomats is unacceptable. It's really, really unacceptable. The alternative Independence Day was one of those signs of the recent years or days or months in which it's very clear that Israel is going toward the direction of Erdogan's Turkey. You see the signs. We are not there yet. We are not yet Turkey, but we are going there. And we heard here so many testimonies from Sigal, from others, about their own experiences. The direction is very clear. And if those governments will continue, we will be there. And the way that those people were chased, people who wanted to commemorate Palestinians and Jews together, and the government did nothing about it. And, you know, this all incitement within Israel against the left, against the media, against the Supreme Court, against the legal system, against the NGOs, and against the Israeli Palestinians, this will be translated into legislations, into popular actions, and we will face a different Israel very soon if this will continue. I mean, it's so clear on the wall. I don't understand who cannot see it. About environment, yeah, the environmental element is a very meaningful one, but everybody ignores it. Take just Gaza. We didn't mention Gaza here today at all. This biggest cage in the world with 2 million people. I mean, only Gaza cries for international intervention, if I mention Gaza. Yeah, only Gaza, leave everything aside. Gaza is crying for international intervention, military intervention if needed. How can the world accept a cage, a prison for 12, 13 years now and do nothing about it? Is this also a domestic issue? Does this also have to do with the existential danger to Israel? But Gaza is also an environmental ticking bomb. The UN had declared already that in 2020, it is in half a year, Gaza will be a place where human beings will not be able to live. And nothing is being done. Now, the Israelis don't even understand that this will not remain in Gaza. Those dangers, sewage, water, air, this will all come to Israel. But meanwhile, nobody does nothing about it. And Gaza is for sure a ticking bomb in terms of environmental danger for Gaza and also for the whole environment. But unfortunately, nobody looks at the future, nobody. And the last but not least, yeah, about the democratization of Israel. There is a process, no doubt, but let's also remember the beginning. And let's not become too nostalgic about the past. Because in the first 15 years of the existence of Israel, the Israeli Palestinian citizens were living under military rule. Let's not forget this. Let's not forget that the Israeli media in the first years was totally recruited, didn't inform a massacre in Kfar Qasem, didn't inform about a massacre in Kibia, many things that today couldn't happen. Couldn't happen in terms that the media will not even tell something about it. So the first years of the so-called democracy were also not so flourishing as we tend to see them now, because from day one, it was very clear, the direction was clear, the goals were clear. I'm reading now, and I recommend anybody to read the biography of Ben-Gurion by Tom Segev. And you read this biography, which is really detailed. I didn't finish it yet. It's over 600 pages. And you see that in the 20s, much before the Holocaust, much before anything, in the 20s, everything starts when they start to fire all the Palestinian workers systematically. It becomes a value, the Hebrew work, Avodah Ivrit. And you see how place after place they are firing the Palestinians from their jobs, or even before buying their lands, their jobs. So it started long time ago. It got where it got. I don't think that everything will be corrected. It will never be corrected. There will never be a total justice. The Palestinians will never get total justice, and even the Jews will not get total justice. But we have to start to correct. And meanwhile, what we are doing is to continue 48 until this very moment.
On peut prendre encore quelques questions, pas trop, mais... Qui a le micro? On peut avoir le... Bon, monsieur, et après, par ici à gauche.
Bonjour, merci pour les interventions.
Plus fort, plus fort.
J'aurais deux questions à vous adresser. La première concerne la perte de confiance dans la solution à deux États. Les deux, en fait. Est-ce que vous considérez que l'après-Trump et l'après-Netanyahou pourrait ouvrir une nouvelle période davantage de confiance dans la solution négociée à deux États? Et la deuxième question, quel est le regard portez-vous sur les activités de certaines ONG qui organisent des tours alternatifs de visite de Tel Aviv notamment, pour apprendre aux Israéliens l'histoire des lieux et notamment l'histoire de la Nakba? Quel regard portez-vous sur ces actions, et est-ce que vous considérez que ça pourrait être une manière de créer une conscience collective qui permettrait une solution à un État? Faire vite.
Par ici, c'est par ici. Ah. Oui, vas-y Christiane.
Ce que je voulais dire, j'ai deux choses à dire. D'une part, M. Mograbi, dont j'admire beaucoup l'œuvre et les prises de position, je diffère un tout petit peu sur votre prise de position. Je pense que ça doit venir de l'intérieur et pas de l'extérieur. Je crois qu'il est très difficile. Et je pense qu'au fond de tout cela, il y a une éthique. Et cette éthique, c'est la colonne vertébrale de toute action positive. Je pense qu'il y a une cohérence aussi. Si je reprends un peu ce à quoi j'ai assisté dans la vie, je suis très vieille, il y a eu d'abord le nazisme. On pensait que ça ne finirait jamais. Le nazisme est mort. Il y a eu ensuite, peut-être pas toujours mort, mais il l'a été fondamentalement. Il y a eu la décolonisation. C'était absolument indispensable. On n'y croyait pas, c'est arrivé. L'Union soviétique a été mise à bas aussi. Donc je crois que là, il faut que nous gardions un espoir. Il ne faut pas que nous ayons cette position aussi négative sur l'avenir possible. Mais je crois que ça ne peut venir que de l'intérieur. La libération, l'autonomie de l'Algérie, c'était quand même aussi une lutte interne française contre le gouvernement. Je crois qu'on a à prendre position chaque fois, dans toutes les circonstances, pour se sentir responsable de son pays et de ce que ce pays est en train de faire.
C'est une simple question pour Avi. Le cinéma israélien fonctionne très largement avec un financement public, de l'avance sur recette, comme on appelle ça chez nous en France. Qu'est-ce que vous attendez de Miri Regev? Qu'est-ce qu'elle vous a annoncé? Vous allez avoir de l'argent pour les prochains films? Je pose cette question pour vous, mais je la pose en fait plus généralement. Est-ce que les prises de position de Miri Regev, à côté de laquelle Marine Le Pen est une dangereuse gauchiste. Est-ce que ça annonce une mise en cause du financement du cinéma israélien?
Oui, bonjour. Deux remarques. Une simplement pour dire que je suis assez étonné d'entendre des gens dans la salle par deux fois parler d'initiative de paix comme s'il s'agissait, enfin comme si on avait rencontré l'amitié franco-allemande pendant l'occupation. Il y a quelque chose qui m'étonne un peu. La question aujourd'hui, c'est la solidarité politique entre les Palestiniens, les organisations palestiniennes et israéliennes. Enfin, il y a quelque chose d'une naïveté que pour le coup je ne partage pas. Et la question que je voudrais vous poser, c'est, je suis président d'une association de la FPS en banlieue parisienne, et donc à chaque jour où je me lève, où je me dis qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec cette association, je me dis c'est les Palestiniens qui sont au charbon et qui ont le temps long, et donc ça suffit pour nous dire que c'est pas la peine de se cogner contre les murs. La résistance doit de toute façon être soutenue. Mais je me pose aussi la question, et par rapport aux amis israéliens qui sont là, c'est-à-dire qu'ils sont aussi dans une situation qui ressemble un peu étrangement à ce qu'étaient les résistants français à la guerre d'Algérie à une certaine époque, toute comparaison valant ce qu'elle vaut. Et la question que je voudrais leur poser à l'un à l'autre, c'est qu'est-ce qu'ils attendent finalement de plus aujourd'hui des mouvements, des militants français dans l'interpellation qu'ils font de la société israélienne? Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui peut monter en puissance, que ça peut prendre des formes nouvelles? Je trouve que c'est quelque chose qu'on n'a pas beaucoup. Enfin, personnellement, j'ai pas le sentiment d'avoir beaucoup travaillé.
Je ne vais pas poser une... je peux parler? Oui. Je ne vais pas poser une question, je vais interpeller un des orateurs en lui disant que si la situation, et c'est vrai, ressemble à celle de l'Afrique du Sud, il n'y a pas à se poser la question je suis là et que font les Palestiniens? Il faut s'organiser ensemble. Dans l'ANC d'Afrique du Sud, il y avait des Blancs, il y avait beaucoup de Noirs, mais il y avait des Blancs. Je crois savoir que même le numéro 3 de l'organisation, c'était un gars de chez nous, il venait d'Odessa, il était le membre numéro 3 de l'ANC. Donc pour moi, la question, c'est l'organisation commune, ce qui veut dire affronter les problèmes des uns et des autres. Parce que bien sûr que du côté palestinien, il y a énormément de questions, problèmes politiques qui se posent, étant donné qu'ils ont aussi sur le dos, de l'intérieur, je veux dire. Mais je me permets de vous faire cette remarque en vous disant que si la question c'est une situation d'apartheid, ça veut dire qu'à terme, c'est un seul pays, de tout le monde ensemble, et ben ça concerne l'ensemble des gens qui sont les habitants de ce pays. Donc pour moi, la question d'organisation commune, elle se pose. Bon, je me permets de dire ça. Bon.
Le monsieur qui est là, il est debout.
D'abord, je voudrais remercier les organisateurs de cet événement, parce que manifester en France la solidarité avec les progressistes israéliens est un élément tout à fait important de la lutte en France pour que notre gouvernement bouge sur la question des droits des Palestiniens et sur la question de la paix au Proche-Orient. Je pense que c'est l'honneur d'Israël qu'ont été les paroles de tous les orateurs qui ont été invités ici, et je les remercie au nom de tous ceux qui luttent pour une paix juste et durable au Proche-Orient. Mais j'ai une autre question. Les personnalités qui ont été là sont représentantes d'organisations de la société civile, mais il y a aussi en Israël une opposition politique. Il y a eu la liste unifiée, qui a été le parti politique le plus puissant d'opposition à la politique de Netanyahou. Il va y avoir des élections dans un mois. Est-ce que notre devoir n'est pas aussi de soutenir, en plus des individus et des organisations de la société civile, les organisations politiques principales, arabes, juives, si elles peuvent s'unir aussi pour les prochaines élections? D'ailleurs, c'est la question aussi que je pose. Y a-t-il des perspectives d'union en ce qui concerne tous les groupes juifs, arabes, pour la paix, etc., Mapai, est-ce qu'il y a une possibilité qu'ils s'unissent lors des prochaines élections et offrent une perspective? Et enfin, la dernière chose aussi, je voudrais redire ce qui a été dit par d'autres gens, c'est qu'il y a une force énorme aux côtés des progressistes israéliens, qui est l'opinion, et des progressistes palestiniens, c'est l'opinion publique internationale. Les votes aux Nations Unies, lorsque les États-Unis sont isolés, montrent bien qu'il y a une opinion publique internationale qui peut jouer un rôle considérable. Et dernier point, est-ce que vraiment, ça a été dit, il n'y a pas d'avenir est-ce que Trump doit rester au pouvoir tout le temps? Et si Trump disparaît, est-ce que la situation politique ne risque pas d'être complètement nouvelle?
Bonjour. Bon, je vais être aussi bref, même plus bref. J'approuve tout à fait ce qui vient d'être dit. Je crois qu'il ne faut pas se cacher quand même. Moi aussi, je suis à la FPS, mais adhérent simplement. Je crois qu'il faut faire aussi, pas seulement du BDS ou d'autres choses comme ça. Quand je vois les avocats sur mon marché, je dis à toute la file qui fait la queue, cela vient d'Israël ce jour-ci, il ne faut pas en acheter. Chacun fait ce qu'il peut. Mais il faudrait une action politique. Parce que fout la France au Conseil de sécurité sur les problèmes concernant Israël ou les armes qu'on vend pour bombarder le Yémen? Je trouve qu'au niveau politique, Macron, il semble assez balèze pour, dès que Trump a dit « Ah ben on va peut-être aider le coup d'État au Venezuela et on va former des armées données par la Colombie et on va les coincer par le Brésil », Trump a dit ça. 24 heures, non, un quart d'heure après, il y a le président du Canada qui l'a dit, et Macron, il a lu ses tweets, et il a dit exactement la même chose que le Canada. Alors, pour ne pas faire d'immixtion dans les affaires étrangères, même Villepin ou Chirac n'auraient jamais fait ce style d'immixtion dans les affaires étrangères que maintenant je vais appeler affaires étranges.
Merci. Écoutez, on me signale que nous sommes en bout de piste. Je suis désolé, on est en bout de piste. Ben oui, mais je suis désolé, si je fais une exception pour monsieur, il y a la dame qui est devant et moi aussi, donc voilà. Moi, la question que je voulais poser, si vous permettez, c'est très simple. Oui, j'y ai droit quand même. C'est la chose suivante. Est-ce qu'on peut penser réellement avoir une solution juste aux droits des Palestiniens s'il n'y a pas une opposition interne en Israël qui se développe? Personnellement, je pense que c'est indispensable. Or, cette opposition interne, elle n'est pas que juive. Il y a 20% ou 17% de la population qui est palestinienne. Cette union entre les Israéliens progressistes, qu'ils soient juifs, palestiniens, excusez-moi du terme, javanais, peu importe. L'union est indispensable. S'il n'y a pas d'opposition interne, on n'avancera pas. La solution, à mon sens, ne peut pas venir que de l'extérieur. Voilà. Oui, on a entendu, mais nos amis doivent répondre.
Most of the questions were at Avi, but I will answer that.
You want to answer my question?
No.
Exchange? Gideon, are you going to submit your next film to the foundations in Israel?
I just want to answer the Chairman Robert, and it's a very good and important question. Can it be a solution without any opposition in Israel? Look, most of the Israeli left is now in this room now. I mean, Chagai and Yehuda and Avi, and this is more or less 40–50% of the left is here. And by all means, I don't underestimate the courageous people, really young and old, and many organizations, and they are doing a hell of a job, but we must understand that they are delegitimized in Israel, and the establishment is fighting them, and they have very, very little influence. We must face it. And this will not change, as I tried to say before. The answer to your question, Robert, is exactly like in South Africa. In South Africa, in a certain stage, the business community, out of all communities, the business community came to the government and said, we cannot take it anymore. The sport elite came to the government and said, we cannot take it anymore. This will not be applied in Israel because Israel is doing very badly in sport. So don't go for sport. But we have to create a situation in which Israelis, individuals and organizations and establishments will start to pay for the occupation. And once this will happen, when I say pay, I don't mean necessarily in terms of money. Then will come the stage in which they will ask themselves, does it worth it? Is it worth it? Do we really want to continue with it? Because this question is never raised. And once they ask themselves, then it might be a real opposition to the occupation in Israel. Right now, there is no incentive for the occupation. I remember in the last operation in Gaza, I wrote an article, Austrian Airways will make peace. Ask me, what is this surrealistic title? I'll tell you. In the first day of the operation in Gaza, almost all international airlines stopped flying to Tel Aviv. It lasted for 24 hours. Austrian Airlines was the first one. Israelis went nuts. I mean, for Israel, if you close the airport, I think after 12 hours, they give up Tel Aviv. After 6 hours, they give up Jerusalem. After 1 hour, they give up Beit El and Efrat. More seriously, once people will start to pay something for it, they will start to ask themselves. And this is the role of the international community, to create this new situation in which there will be an opposition. Opposition of, people of conscience, of leftists, of people of morality. We will never get to it that they will be really influential. I want to just pick up one more question about Donald Trump. I want to remind you all that he didn't start with Donald Trump. Let's stop making our life so easy. We had 8 years, the most liberal American president ever. He spoke fantastically. He understood the problem. He compared the Palestinians to the black slavery, and he did nothing. And so did all the other presidents. The day that there will be an American president who would like to put an end to the occupation will end within weeks. But there was never such a president. So let's not put everything on Netanyahu and Trump. Netanyahu didn't start the occupation. The liberal man of peace, Shimon Peres, is responsible for many more settlements than Benjamin Netanyahu.
Gideon refused to answer my questions, although everything I want to say he already said. So you could have answered also. But, well, I don't think that any of us proposed to halt the internal resistance to whatever the government is doing, either concerning the occupation or the nation-state law, etc., etc., etc. We are here because there is a certain resistance. B'Tselem, breaking the silence, Adala would not be targeted if they didn't, if they weren't sending important messages to the public. They are targeted because they are poisoning the air we breathe. Thanks to them, there's a little positive poison there. So obviously, yes, resistance and collaborating of the communities is highly important. I think that most people agree that the joined unity party, Arab party, should be revived, and I think that what we hear is that it's in the process, and I'm there with my little piece of paper for the ballot. Now, concerning the films, I'm not sure that my next film will be financed by a foundation, because my next film is made of video testimonies collected by Breaking the Silence about the occupation since 1967 till today. It's called The First 53 Years, only the first. Every year we will change the title of the film to The First 54, 77, etc. Anyway, but look, obviously also Miri Regev will not decide whether I get money or not, and but there's a chilling effect to what she's doing, or to what the government is doing. Also, if the nation-state law will be cancelled by the Supreme Court, the chilling effect is there. What had to be passed to the people was passed. We don't need the implementation. When the loyalty law was halted and never got to the parliament, we already see the effects on the ground. Only 2 weeks ago, or yes, 2 weeks ago, in Doc Aviv, in a documentary film festival in Tel Aviv, we were a few people talking and said, for a long time, we didn't have in the main competition of this festival 2 films that mention the occupation. They're not even films about the occupation, but they mention the occupation. So yes, the chilling effect is there, and it's very effective. So I'm not sure about. Maybe I will have to crawl here to Paris and beg for money again.
Donc cette table ronde est clôturée, et à Michel Tubiana de conclure ce colloque. Je lui cède la parole.
Merci. Si vous avez peut-être remarqué que le format un peu particulier de cette initiative, qui accueille en même temps des organisations, des individus dans la décision de le faire, tout simplement parce que, quelles que soient les organisations auxquelles nous appartenions les uns et les autres, et même les organisations auxquelles nous appartenions, nous ressentions comme un besoin d'aller au-delà du discours habituel sur la situation et de mettre donc en exergue un aspect de cette situation qui est celle qui prévaut en Israël, parce que nous ressentions profondément, je pense, cette espèce d'étranglement lent, mais constant, mais permanent, mais dramatique, d'une société civile israélienne qui a connu de meilleures situations, mais qui en même temps continue à remplir pleinement sa fonction. Alors, ce que nous venons d'entendre, je ne vais pas le répéter, montre à l'évidence que ce qui se passe en Israël est bien la marque d'une dramatique régression d'un corps social malade, de moins en moins apte au dialogue, de plus en plus intolérant. Bien sûr, la loi sur l'État juif illustre jusqu'à les caricatures cette situation, ce repli sur soi, cette espèce de folie millénariste qui voudrait que l'on détienne une vérité historique sur cette terre et qui justifierait l'appropriation de cette terre. C'est une dimension qui n'a pas été évoquée ici, mais ce type de justification qui existe doit être prise en compte. Elle vaut d'ailleurs dans d'autres sens, à l'inverse, et n'est pas plus satisfaisante, autant le dire. Et en même temps, ce que je constate, c'est que nous voyons se reproduire des schémas, et Giovanna l'a contextualisé en début, qui se reproduisent un peu partout. La fragilisation des ONG, l'attaque sur le financement des ONG, la désignation de celui qui est un contradicteur comme un traître à la nation, celui qui en définitive constitue une cinquième colonne, celui qui ne mérite plus d'être hongrois, israélien, polonais, et on observera que nonobstant les bisbilles autour de la loi sur la mémoire, ce n'est peut-être pas un hasard si l'actuel Premier ministre israélien entretient une relation, je dirais presque amoureuse, avec les dirigeants hongrois et polonais, en tout cas illibéraux. Et ce qui se passe là, c'est une situation générale, mais qui bien évidemment a ses spécificités en Israël. Ces spécificités, c'est l'occupation. Je crois que dans notre souci et dans notre soutien au mouvement progressiste israélien, nous ne pouvons jamais oublier ce déterminant qui est celui de l'existence d'une occupation, c'est-à-dire cette volonté prométhéenne de soumettre un peuple à sa volonté, indépendamment de toute règle, indépendamment de toute humanité, et dans des conditions qui, en définitive, deviennent une appropriation de ce peuple, de sa terre, de son vécu, etc. Elias Sambar a évoqué tout à l'heure sa crainte, au fond, d'un processus où les Palestiniens diraient, dans le latin juridique que j'ai beaucoup employé, que j'ai appris d'ailleurs au lycée aussi, presque un res nullus. C'est-à-dire qu'ils n'existent plus. Ah, ils existeront physiquement, mais sans aucune légitimité. J'ai beaucoup été réservé dans le passé à parler d'apartheid, parce que l'apartheid correspondait à une situation donnée et surtout à une situation interne. Or, les territoires occupés ne sont pas une situation interne. Mais en définitive, j'y viens aussi. Je l'avoue bien volontiers, j'y viens aussi parce que ce qui est en train de se mettre en place au travers de ces lois, c'est effectivement un régime d'apartheid où personne, où toute une catégorie de population n'aura pas les mêmes droits. Et l'on sait très bien quelles sont les conséquences de cela. Je vais évoquer certains points et nous allons essayer de les dater ensemble. Le système de détention administrative hérité des Britanniques, l'état d'urgence, la censure de la presse au nom des principes de sécurité, les poursuites contre ceux qui, c'est en cours, c'est en annonce, refusent de cautionner l'occupation, la torture institutionnalisée. Cela ne nous rappelle rien? Vous croyez que je parle d'Israël, là? Non, je parle de la guerre d'Algérie. Je parle de la guerre d'Algérie avec le même système de discrimination. Interdiction pour les Algériens de sortir, couvre-feu. Regroupement des Algériens dans des situations, dans des camps, etc. Nous sommes dans un système d'occupation et ainsi, permettez-moi la formule, si le pouvoir corrompt, l'occupation détruit. Et elle ne détruit pas simplement ceux qui la subissent, celles et ceux qui la subissent, mais aussi toute velléité démocratique dans celles et ceux qui le commettent, cette occupation. Car demain, ce qui est en cause, c'est que ce système-là qui est appliqué aujourd'hui aux Palestiniens, à un moindre niveau aux Arabes israéliens, finira demain immanquablement par toucher les Juifs d'Israël, Parce que, tout simplement, ce système ne peut pas admettre la contradiction. Alors, tout cela, nous en avions une vague idée. Ce qui nous a été rappelé aujourd'hui, c'est ce qui est ici vécu. Et aussi le fait que, probablement, Israël arrive à un moment où c'est la contradiction ultime. Et cela a été dit. Il faut choisir, c'est un État juif ou un État démocratique. Et l'ambiguïté qui existe depuis 1948, eh bien, il va falloir en sortir. Et pour le moment, on n'en sort pas dans le bon sens, c'est clair. Alors, à partir de là, qu'est-ce que nous, ici, avons à dire? Et me semble-t-il, avons à faire? D'abord, d'agir sur notre pays, sur notre gouvernement, sur l'Union européenne. C'est là, avant de se préoccuper de savoir s'il y aura un État, deux États et demi, ce que vous voulez, ça, c'est un débat entre Palestiniens et Israéliens. Et moi, je ne me reconnais pas le droit d'aller dicter une solution. Peut-être ai-je intellectuellement le souci d'en disputer, le souci d'en discuter, d'en dialoguer. Mais pas plus que quand je défendais les Kanaks en Nouvelle-Calédonie, je m'étais prononcé pour ou contre leur indépendance. C'est leur problème, pas le nôtre. Et je ne nous reconnais pas le droit, en tout cas, je ne me reconnais pas le droit d'aller choisir une solution au lieu et place des protagonistes de cette affaire. Mais en même temps, cela rend encore plus important notre devoir d'agir à l'égard d'une communauté internationale qui ferme les yeux, et qui ferme les yeux pour de multiples raisons, d'une Union européenne, allez, je dirais à la lâcheté bienveillante, et qui est encore piégée dans un réflexe historique où elle pense devoir payer de cette manière une forme de culpabilité bien réelle quant au sort réservé aux Juifs dans l'Europe d'avant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Et puis c'est aussi ici dire à notre gouvernement que nous n'accepterons pas que M. Netanyahou soit consacré comme représentant des Juifs du monde entier en étant invité à la cérémonie du Veldiv. Que nous n'accepterons pas que l'on nous serve en permanence et comme une manière d'étouffer le débat, cette ancienne qui voudrait que toute critique de la politique israélienne devienne une forme d'antisémitisme. Pas simplement parce que, je dirais tout bêtement, et tout simplement parce qu'un certain nombre d'entre nous sont juifs, mais tout simplement parce que l'État d'Israël est un État comme un autre, qui a les mêmes droits, les mêmes responsabilités, et doit pouvoir supporter les mêmes critiques. En l'occurrence, et contrairement à ce que certains laissent croire, ceux qui aujourd'hui tentent de faire adopter une résolution sur l'antisémitisme aussi indigente qu'imbécile, nous n'exigeons pas de l'État d'Israël quelque chose que nous n'exigeons pas d'autres États. La lutte pour l'expression démocratique, la lutte pour la démocratie, la lutte contre le racisme, la lutte contre les discriminations, ce n'est pas à géométrie variable et ça ne supporte pas la théorie des climats. Donc par conséquent, notre exigence, elle est la même pour tous à cet égard, et rien, même pas l'histoire de la création de l'État d'Israël, ne justifie ce qui est en train de s'y produire à l'égard de ces minorités ou à l'égard du peuple palestinien dans son ensemble. Voilà, je pense que là sont nos tâches à nous. Pas tellement, encore une fois, d'aller prendre position et de rentrer dans un débat passionnant, intéressant, qui, vous l'observerez d'ailleurs, est sinueux. Moi, je me souviens que, quand j'étais beaucoup plus jeune, c'était l'État laïque, démocratique, etc. Et puis, on est passé à 2 États. Et puis on revient à l'État laïque et démocratique. Comme quoi, dans l'histoire, rien n'est jamais acquis. Mais on le sait, l'histoire est sans morale. L'histoire est sans morale. Le débat réel, c'est le débat entre l'oppression et la vie. Faire le choix entre la vie et la barbarie. Or, ce que nous devons porter, me semble-t-il, c'est ce refus de la barbarie. Parce que cette barbarie, elle sera inévitable si demain les forces progressistes en Israël, le mouvement palestinien, ne trouvent pas le point d'accord qui permettra à chacun de vivre sur cette terre. Je vous remercie.